Good morning, warriors. Back with another episode of Morning Talk. How are we doing today? This is Vigor Warriors 2. I hope you guys are doing well this morning. It's getting lighter out every morning, and that is a good thing. And as we get ready to go here, I wanted to kind of just talk about a couple things and kind of address a couple things that we've seen here. So, first of all, I want to thank Bhola. Thank you, Bhola. A shout out to Bhola and to Donald Jong. Thank you, Donald. And also Crelloc. I hope I'm saying that right. And then, of course, Big Al Z. And I appreciate that from all you guys' comments. We're going to address a couple of comments that Bhola and Donald Jong mentioned. So we'll probably talk about that a little bit today here. So once again, please go ahead and subscribe, comment, like. Hope you guys are doing well this morning and keeping on the battling on as we go on. So, Bhola has a nice comment and statement talking about how difficult it is as you're getting older to kind of doing this and going on streaks. And I would agree, it is difficult. That's why it's probably better to kind of start early to do a lot of this and to start the habit. It's almost like a bad habit that I learned a long time ago. And somehow in our minds, we get to the point of thinking, well, this is the right thing to do. And we should be doing this all the time. And then people telling us what's good for your health and all that kind of stuff. And I think I'm at like 160 some days now, 61 days, something like that. And I'm at 540 something. I got to go back and look again. I just keep forgetting. But we're getting closer to 650 as well in the category of NoFap. And so as you look at this, I think the key thing is to continue to understand that it's a lifestyle change. And no matter what, when you start, you really have to be committed to doing this. And this is the toughest part about the whole journey, is that at some point you're going to have to kind of say to yourself, okay, I have to leave a lot of this stuff behind. But isn't that what the Bible has told us all along, all right? That in order for a person to really become saved, or a person to become, really close to their Creator and their God, they're going to have to leave a lot of this earthly stuff behind. And so no matter what it is, anything can become an idol. And it doesn't really matter what it is. And so you don't want to go ahead and kind of pray to your idols more than you praying to your God and your Creator. And so I think this is one of the key things when it comes to starting this journey. You got to create a lot of discipline. You got to be able to kind of say, okay, I'm going to build a habit of not releasing energy. I'm not going ahead and doing those type of things that are going to kind of make me feel weak and losing energy, being stressed out, things like that. And so as you do this, you realize the benefits you're getting. And, even at the age that I'm at, I see the benefits all the time. And I continue seeing the benefits. Now, I think as you're younger, you'll see more pronounced benefits, especially at the beginning, because you're building a lot more testosterone. And a lot of that's being created when you're younger. But you're also creating it when you're older. And so at any age, no matter if you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, it's a good chance to start this. And so that's why, Bhola, I would really encourage you to go ahead and start and to, kind of look at the benefits you're seeing. And don't judge by what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just one person, and, I have different experiences that maybe other people do. But a lot of people who are experienced this to tell you the kind of the same thing. And they can tell you that, you are getting a lot of experiences and benefits from this. And a lot of those benefits are things like, extreme focus, being able to focus on things you want to get, having the ability to attract people to you and attract those opportunities to you, to make things better and make your life better as well. You have an extreme ability to be able to stay healthy and positive. I don't know, the last time I've been sick was been a long time ago now, over 10 years. And, there's lots of benefits you get being healthy. A lot of things you see and trying to kind of being able to see the world in a different way. And you become a lot more spiritual. You don't need a lot of those things anymore. You become really more in tune. And that was the reason I started this, 600 and some days ago, because I really felt, and this is why I wanted to do it at the beginning many years ago. I just didn't have the strength or the power or whatever it might be. I just didn't have it. And so as you do this, you realize that you do have the strength. And sometimes it seems like it's hopeless. Bhola, I understand that. I mean, it seems like it's hopeless, and it seems like that, there's no other way out, but there is. You have to just go ahead and say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And as you do this more, you're going to get that strength, and you're going to be able to kind of see the big advantages to all this. And I think that's a big key to what you're going to do. And as you see this in the first 5, 6, 7 days, then you'll end up seeing this more and more and more. And so as you do this, you just have to continue to kind of persevere and take it like one step at a time. And I think this is a whole key to it. So, I think you make a good point that, it is difficult. It is difficult as you get older. You're set in your ways, and it's harder and harder. It took me 45 years to get to this point. So, all right, but guys, I'm gonna yawn a little bit here. So thank you, Bhola, for the comment, and I hope this helps you a little bit. You can start any age you want to. Don't be concerned about whether you're young or old. I think God is, I think the Lord has basically said that, there's a reason for procreation. There's a reason for all that, and that time will come. But there's also time to kind of come closer to God. And I think I'm at that point. Now, each one of us is different, but I also think you have to kind of look at yourself and say, okay, how close do you want to be to the Lord, and live your life that way? So, all right. And then the other comment I was going to kind of comment on was from Donald Jong. Donald, thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. He was mentioning the age-old controversy we talk about with the idea of edging. And I'll go back to a little bit of what I was talking about before we talked about this. I have not seen any kind of experience in my life that edging was a good thing. So that may be different other people are talking about. I know people have mentioned that, and we've kind of gone back and forth with it a little bit. But I have not seen a case in which edging is a good thing. All it does is kind of lead you to more temptation and thoughts and things like that. Now, once again, we're making an assumption that if we don't end up, using something, then we lose it. Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case here. I think God, will get you to the point where if you're trying to procreate, you're going to be able to do that without any kind of, stimulus, any kind of motivation from yourself to do it. I think you're going to be able to do that. I think we have to leave it in God's hands on these things. But I think the one thing you have to do is not get caught up in temptation, get caught up in, art magazines and pictures and things like that kind of stuff on the internet. Because those are the kind of things that can kind of get you back into the wrong type of situation. So certainly I think that it's a good question from Donald. Again, I think this is an interesting type of dilemma issue to look at, because what you really have to do is kind of have to trust God. And you're saying to God, okay, I'm putting this in your hands. This is my lifestyle right now. This is what I believe in, and I'm going to get closer to you through all this. Now, some people from the outside looking in are saying, okay, well, you're sacrificing your sex life, all kinds of stuff like that. Well, again, what does that mean, that sex life? I think, again, that's another one of those things that we're taught in this society is supposed to be a good thing, the pleasure and all that kind of stuff. But again, I go back to what the purpose of all this is. As far as I'm concerned, it's to appropriate, and that basically means to have sex with the purpose of having a child. Beyond that, all this is self-pleasure. And to my mind, I think, you have to be, in order to be with God, you have to be less pleasure yourself, right? And so this is where all this stuff comes in, and where I think Satan is tempting you to become more pleasurable to yourself. And the more pleasure you have, and I saw this when I was a kid change a lot back in the 50s and 60s, especially in the 60s when I was growing up as a kid. I saw a lot of that going on. A lot of people believing that self pleasure was the best way to do it, and the way to go through life. Do it my way, and all kinds of stuff where they're looking at themselves as being the God, and not really looking at anything outside of that as being very valid. And I think that was a big mistake that you see that people have made over all these years. Once again, believing the wiles of the devil, temptation, to say, okay, let's go ahead, it's good to have those type of things in your life. And I think that's why when you go into this whole situation, Donald, I think you have to kind of realize that any sort of temptation, unless you're procreating with somebody, makes no sense. All that's doing is kind of moving you back into that type of situation where you're going to be affected by a tempting type of thing. And that's one of the reasons why I had to go to monk mode, because I found myself kind of in a pattern. Now, it took me a number of years to kind of get into the point where I was working with, slowly but surely moving away from temptation. And it took me a long time. And hopefully it does not take you guys 45 years to do that. But even after that, once I hit this new pattern, I still had to go through a couple stages and some stages of edging and things like that to be able to realize that this is just not good. It's not a good type of thing, and the feeling you get from that is not a healthy one, especially if you're talking about hurting yourself with edging. I don't know, I did not feel good with edging after a while, so that's another reason why I decided to stay away from that. And that's once again my viewpoint. And there's not a lot of research out there on this, so that's one of the issues about this as well. But when you look at this, you can kind of say to yourself, okay, you are, in my opinion, you are losing a little bit of energy, because it's hard to edge, first of all, without losing something. And secondly, people can talk about, well, this is you're topping off and everything. Well, I don't know if God really works that way. I don't believe that. I believe that all the energy you have is needed, and unless you're going to have a child, that's a time where you can kind of release that energy and to have children. So, and other times, there's nothing wrong with having, I think the other aspect of it, there's nothing wrong with lovemaking especially with your wife. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think that when we're talking about this, we're really talking about losing energy, in things that especially are going to drain you. And first of all, there are people who are able to have, make love without having, losing energy. So that's another whole different issue, I guess you could talk about. But there's also situations where you can actually make love, and it's not something you're going to be drained entirely with. And so I think we all have to make decisions on this. We have to kind of go back and say, how far are we going to take this, especially if you have a wife or husband on this, and you're going to have to kind of say, okay, work with them a little bit on this as well, and say, okay, where is the bottom line on this thing? But once again, just knowing that anytime you make a decision on this, you're losing energy. And so my wife, we have talked about this, and at this point in our life, we're going to go to monk mode, and that's what I've been doing for the last 160 days, and it's worked out well. And I think once again, when you look at this type of thing, it is important to realize that it's benefiting both people and making them healthier. And I think in the long run, that's what really makes a big difference. And I think that the health of the person is important, but also that spiritual being and getting closer to God is also very extremely important. And I think that's the kind of key you're looking for here. So I think back to your question, Donald, I think that edging is something that we all kind of think about and experience, and think to ourselves as we break away from this whole terrible addiction, which I don't think a lot of people realize that they're in. It looks so good, it feels so good for people, and especially after they release, they feel so good that they want to go back to it. It is a highly addictive type of thing, and I think it takes time in some cases, especially if you've been doing it for a long time, to kind of move past it all, right? And to get past it all. And you have to kind of think to yourself, well, I have to go ahead and do that. How do I do that? And so you do that by little, to my mind, either going cold turkey, which is kind of hard to do. I tried that many times. But all you're doing is taking step-by-step types of things. And I think if you take step-by-step and you start, by taking, one day at a time, and you try to eliminate things, you'll eventually work yourself to monk mode. I couldn't do monk mode right away. I decided I was at the point, what is it? Let's see, 620 some days, and I'm at 160 days. So what was it, about 400 days or so? 500 some days. That about maybe 500 days where I decided I'm going to monk mode, right? But it took 500 days for me to get to that point of looking at monk mode. And so it's not something that happened right away either. And I think for me, it's always been a progression of things to get stronger and stronger and to be able to overcome one type of thing at a time. So, well, anyway, thank you guys, both Loam and Donald, for you guys' questions. And once again, Crelloc and Big Al Z, thank you guys for your comments. I hope you guys are all doing well. I appreciate your nice words, and I hope these things are helping you a little bit. And once again, this is March 1st, 2022. You guys have a great day, battle on, and keep going forward. God bless.